What's up, everybody? Another episode, Real with Omar. I'm going to introduce you my twin. You'll see the shirts. We have the same shirts on. It's not Julio Iglesias. I thought you guys thought I was going to have him on. It's not his son, Enrique. It's my boy, Kevin Iglesias from Signature Properties. Signature Premier Properties?
Signature Premier Properties, real estate and chill. I'm in the building. Let's
He's
go.
Let's go.
It's early in the morning.
And the energy is here.
It's here.
First of all, let me just say this before we start. You are obviously a man of action. I appreciate that. I understand that you took a trip to make it. I really appreciate that. And just so everybody knows, I owe you one. So if you ever see me somewhere I'm never usually at because of Kev, I owe him one because I respect that. I appreciate people taking their time out, helping us make these platforms more interesting, collaboration over competition. And I really believe in that.
Same here, man. That's why I'm here. That's why I took the drive.
Welcome to the show, Kev. Welcome to the show.
I appreciate it, man.
So we met we met by DM. Like a couple of years ago. It was just random. You're like, yo, I see you doing your thing. We went back and forth. And then obviously once you start engaging with somebody, kind of start, becoming aware of them and start not tracking them, but just being like, you see their shit, you start following their shit, you see their shit. So I know you've been in real estate. How long have you been in real estate?
So I got into real estate in 2016.
Okay, so you're young. I started just to give you, I'm 04. I'm OG, 04.
Okay.
That's when I got in. So I was like, yeah, I've been around. I've seen some shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good, though. Experience.
Yeah,
Experience.
man.
You've been through it all.
I've seen a lot of wild shit, yeah.
Yeah. But I got in 2016. Man, I say this all the time. I sold 2 houses my first year. I could have made more money working at McDonald's.
Well, before you go there, what got you into it? Because that to me is always interesting.
So I got let go from my previous employer before I got into real estate.
Okay. Do you mind saying what that was?
No, not from circumstances I couldn't change. My skin tone, my tattoos, what I look like, they just didn't.
That's why they let you go.
That's why I was let go.
But they didn't say that because that's not politically correct.
Nah,
right.
They didn't say that.
Say, Kevin, listen.
Yeah, they didn't say that. But after that happened in my life, I said, you know what? I never want somebody to have authority over my money ever again. You know what I mean? Then my wife, who we were engaged at the time.
You were engaged at the time, okay.
Said, you know what? You'd be really good at real estate.
Really?
Yeah.
So wifey had the
she had the
inception,
idea.
right?
You know what they say, happy wife, happy life. You got to listen.
Absolutely.
So I said, you know what? I'll take the test. She was helping me study. I failed my first time, my second time, passed on the third time.
Third time's a charm.
Yeah, third time's a charm. And then it was no looking back after that.
All right, but you've always been a signature premier?
No.
So let's talk about that. Yeah, because I'm always interested on the journey, the path. Right.
So I started with that company that I was with, I won't name, but I didn't feel like there was support there. I didn't feel like there was that correct training, mentoring, everything that an agent needs really to succeed in the business. Yeah.
Right.
I didn't feel like it was there. And then the lady who was trying to help me said, I'm leaving to another company. Do you want to stay here and learn nothing, or do you want to come with me?
Right.
And the money's this, and that. It was a lot more money than what it was now.
So,
even though I didn't really close anything, but the fact that it was like more money.
You had the potential to make more money.
Exactly.
I got
so
you.
the growth was there. And I said, you know what? I'm out. I left. I went to this other company. I was with them for 7 years, and then I made the transition to Signature.
Okay. So the second company was good for your training, your growing, and your networking.
Of course.
The first year you said you made nothing, or you made 2 deals.
I made on paper like 15 maybe thousand.
Okay, so minimum wage or less than that, right?
Pretty much.
So what keeps you going during that time?
I just knew that there was more in me.
Okay.
I felt like I was letting myself down. I knew that I had so much that I could accomplish if I could just get over my insecurities, what I look like, not coming from money, not growing up in the best neighborhood, and just getting out my own mental prison and escaping that, and just really going after my full potential. You know what I mean?
So you were aware of certain things, your tattoos, because of what happened in your first job, right?
Of course.
And then, would you say that you had good mentors on your journey, or did you learn through? I'm more of a proactive learner, meaning when I'm in a situation, I'm diagnosing, I'm like taking data, and I'm like learning, right? Like I'll give you an example, like you said, coming from no money, right? So when I first started, I was recruited and I started working in Long Island. I was in the Bronx, right? So I would drive 45 minutes to like Hauppauge. But most of my clientele were from the Bronx, the boroughs, because I speak their language, right? I wasn't speaking the Long Island, whatever that is. And I remember, not having anything either. So I was like, so I would think when I would look at a deal and I'd be like, damn, so this deal doesn't work. Like, oh, fuck. Because there's no money, whatever. And then I had a conversation with a client who's passed away, so I can say his name is Bobby Garcia, big time developer. he was doing a refi for his daughter, and we were doing, not to get too much into the details of boring shit, my LTV was capped at a certain number, and there just wasn't enough LTV to cover. So he's on the phone with me. He goes, Omar, look, this is for my daughter. You know the deal. I'm talking to you. He goes, if I gotta throw a couple bucks, make it happen. Let's make it happen. And so I did the numbers. I was like, look, man, we have to come up with 10,000. To me, in my 20s, 10,000, that's all the money in the world. He goes, no problem. So then that moment I learned, I was like, yo, I can't think with my pocket. I got to look at the client and think like them. And that was one of my lessons in my journey that started unlocking me to be like, oh shit. So, because all the kids around me in Long Island, like, everybody was like very young in the business. So I'm like, and I was in my late 20s. I was like, if they don't, like, I don't have it, like, why would they have it? And sometimes they have it. Sometimes that 10,000 is a lot to you, or it might be a lot to, like, today might be a lot today for me. Next week it may be like nothing. Like, it just, but you have to know your audience. And to me, that was a big growth lesson, like learning, hey man, you can't think of what is right now. You have to see what's coming, right? And going back to you, I know that you're saying that, you had more in you. Now, you said that you had more in you in terms of work ethic, right? But did you see potential? Did you meet anybody on your way, like clients and stuff like that, inspirational, be like, oh shit, I could see that. I could see myself living like that. I could see myself going there. I could see myself, being on that level.
I learned through trial and error, man.
Right.
I made a lot of mistakes in my career. I learned from my mistakes, what to say, what not to say. But I didn't have a mentor. Mm-hmm. I didn't have somebody coaching me and telling me, holding my hand, like, this is what you got to do. It was just, literally, it was just me.
Right. And
I tried to work with other people, and those people would take money out of my pocket. Like, I had a lead, and the next thing you know, they put that lead up for sale without getting me involved.
Oh, wow.
Or I was on a deal, and they're like, hey, I did this, and that on the deal, so now your split is lower than what it was going to be.
Right.
So,
without talking about it.
Without talking about it.
Just doing it at closing.
Yeah, of course. So what I would do is I'd take the hit on the chin. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to learn from this, what to do, what not to do, and then I just kept going, and I just didn't give up. I just had that in me,
Okay.
that resilience, that I'm not going to let anything stop me. People always complain about not having nothing, man. For me, that was the best advantage on my side. I think not having anything, not coming from nothing, just gives you that battery in your back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Adversity, it is an advantage if used correctly. Because then you could jump into the whole pity party, be like, oh, I can't because I'm black, I'm Spanish, I'm whatever.
Once you have that victim mindset, it's everybody else's fault but yours.
So where did you get that driven personality? Did you get it from seeing somebody? Did you get it from being like taking the L's or being told no? I get it usually from being told I can't do something. Like, if somebody would have told me when I was young, you can't be an astronaut, I'd probably be an astronaut. But it just happened that it was this model, this profession. Did anything like that happen to you?
My reason on why I started hustling, man, is just to buy sneakers. I started hustling, flipping CDs on LimeWire, Napster, downloading illegal songs, making mixed CDs, selling them out of my locker. But the reason why was because I went to school. My parents didn't have it like that. They bought me some Nikes, more like Fugazi Nikes.
Right.
Some Ikes. Kids, yeah, some Ikes. And kids, kids.
Fucking
brutal. Middle school.
Fuck you wearing?
Yeah. What are those? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I'm like, damn. And I was getting made fun of. I'm like, I never want to feel like this again. Felt like my heart just went to my stomach. Yeah, I was like, this sucks. I was like, I got to make some money. Like, I got to figure out how to make money.
I got to get up.
Yeah, my parents didn't have it like that. So what I would do back in the day, there was like D Block versus G Unit, and it was like Dipset versus G Unit, mixed CDs. I would take all the best songs, download them, mix CDs, and just sell them to everybody.
You make your own CDs?
Make my own CDs.
Oh, that's dope.
And I was making like what? Maybe I was 13, 14, or maybe younger than 12, making like 100 and something a week.
Right.
Just
so
from
like
mixed CDs.
Caking, bro.
Like, this is a mixed CD 5 here. You want a custom one, it's 15. And I would just upsell.
Right.
Started buying my own clothes. Echo was big back then.
I remember that. And everything was falling off.
Oh, yeah. Bro, I'm like a small. And I was wearing like 2 XLs. Waist size like 30. I was wearing like a 42. And just everything was oversized. I'm the man. I had to.
I'm killing it.
Yeah.
I can't walk too fast though. I should have fallen off.
But that's what really motivated me to start creating money.
Right, because you had none, right? So you had to figure it out. Right.
Once I understood that I can create money,
right,
and I don't have to wait for money, I don't have to ask somebody to, let me borrow a couple of bucks.
You need permission for it, right?
Yeah. And that to me, just like, all right, I can pretty much sell anything. And that just started my journey of just pretty much flipping everything, man.
Okay.
You know, started jackets, vintage clothes, cars.
So
like
you're a
anything.
flipper,
I
right?
was
You're a
just
flipper.
Anything,
Yeah,
anything that made sense. Anything
yeah.
that could make me a few extra bucks. I was like, all right, this is what I'm going to do.
Okay. Okay. So you graduate high school, and then you go into
Barely.
Barely.
Barely, bro.
They kicked you. They sent you out. They said, "Get having good."
Bro, so I moved out to Suffolk County. I moved to Long Island in 04.
Where are you usually from?
I was in Inwood. I was basically borderline Queens,
Okay.
Rockaway. That's where I was, Rockaway, Queens.
That's where you grew up.
Yeah, so when I moved out there, you're the new kid.
Right.
Like, everybody always wants to test the new kid.
Right.
And I was like, oh, man, they don't know I got hands. They don't know. So I was getting into a lot of fights, man.
Really?
I was getting into a lot of fights. I had to, you got to stand up for yourself. And I'm not a violent person, at all.
Yeah.
I just believe in self-defense.
Right.
But all those actions, held me back in certain academics in school.
Right.
Because I was getting caught up in the BS and being around the wrong people.
In the noise. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Then I had my first son at 17.
Right. I had my first son at 19. You beat me. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I never forget, I had a teacher come up to me and he's like, you need to pass my class in order to graduate high school. He said, you could be left back if I don't pass you. And when he said that, I was like, damn. Like, I don't.
You got real?
Yeah,
I want
real.
Yeah, I want.
And he said, I'm gonna pass you because you got a little boy who's gonna look up to you, and you gotta do the right things.
Wow.
Yeah, real. I won't say his name because he's still there, but
but that left an impression on you, right?
Oh, huge.
Yeah,
huge impression. Because he believed in me more than I believed in myself at that moment. Because when you're young, you're doing dumb things. You're around the wrong people. You're making a lot of mistakes, and I'll never forget that moment. Even to this day, I'm like so thankful.
Well, let me ask you this question. I mean, during the moment, you're probably like, whatever, right?
100%.
Yeah, you're like,
young,
whatever,
you're dumb.
Whatever, bro. All right. And then when you come back, like, when did you? Because I feel like there's levels of consciousness that we ascend. We're ascending today. After this conversation, we'll have another level. When did you have that level of consciousness? Be like, yo, man, that fucking guy did me a solid.
When I matured.
Yeah, but when, like a couple years later, or
years later, yeah, when I realized, like, man, if it wasn't for him believing in me and having faith, I don't know where I would be.
Right.
And I lived my life pretty much, until I got my head straight, that same exact way. Just taking risk, doing dumb things, being involved with the wrong people.
Yeah, when we're young, we feel invincible.
100%.
And the big thing is that we're so self-centered, to be honest. And when you're young, you should be, because you don't really have to be a dad or altruist. You don't have to be unless you're an older brother, that automatically becomes a thing where you're like kind of a father. When you're young, you're like, this is my life, and you don't care because you feel like, yo, it's my life, it doesn't affect anybody. But then you get in some shit, and I'm talking personally, right? Like, you get in some shit, and you see how disappointed your mom could look. And you're like, that's the worst feeling in the fucking world. Like, you're like, I don't ever want, not for me, because at that point in my life, I can give a fuck, right? Like, it's my life, whatever. But then you start seeing the people that love you, and then you're like, yo, I'm affecting them, like, and this what you don't want, right? And then that becomes a part of maturity and consciousness, like, yo, all right, so this is bigger, right? And going back to having kids, when I was 18, 19, 20, I was on some shit. And then as my son got 2, 3 years old, I was like, all right, I gotta figure this out. Like, like I'm grinding around, like I'm making money to help with the son, and I'm in school, and my mom's divorced, and my father's dying, and I had a lot of shit going on when I was young. So I was like, I gotta figure it out. So that's where it kind of like pushed me. And I always say that necessity creates maturity. And I had a lot of necessity, like whether it's just money or just trying to help stabilize my household, or just trying to be, because I didn't really have a good father figure. So I was trying to be something that I'd never seen, right? So that becomes that. You're like, well, you want to be there, like, and you want him not to suffer the trauma that you suffered. Like, I'm not speaking for you, I'm speaking for me. Like, my father was out of my life for the 10 year pockets. Like, he had substance abuse problems. And as a man, I understand, right? As a kid, you're like, yo, what the fuck? I'm not good enough. And then, I never wanted my kids to feel that. So even if me and the mother weren't getting along, I would take on the chin, because, if you ever had a child out of wedlock, sometimes, you don't get along all the time. So like, and you got to be the bigger person, be like, all right, and just take it, because you still want to, you have that goal of, you want to be around that little person, right? And you feel that debt that I brought you in here, bro. Like you were just a thought, right? You weren't even existing, and I brought you here. So it's my job as a man, and we'll put that in air quotes because everybody has a different definition now, to take care of you and show you, right? To show you, like, yo, this is kind of how I did it. You don't have to do it exactly like the way I did, but it's kind of like a roadmap, and you can kind of take what you want and, and kind of make it yours. So when you had your son, did you start feeling that pressure? Did you start becoming acknowledging, yo, it's bigger than just me?
I think at that age, you're not really thinking about, what everybody else is thinking about when you have a kid. I had to get 2 jobs, I had to hustle, I had to grind, I had to be like, all right, he made me man up a lot sooner than I had to man up.
Because you want to be responsible.
Because
there's the other guy.
100%.
There's the other guy too. There's the other guy that doesn't give a fuck, has 18 kids, and is like, haha, I'm living life. I'm at the club, and I'm like, yo, don't you got like 10 kids? And there's that guy too. So you got to give yourself a little bit of grace because a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people and I give myself grace sometimes too. And I don't say it to sound braggadocious. I say it because it could have went another way. Like I see when it comes when my pops had his own. He was more into him than he was worried about us. And I'm like, I understand the divorce. I understand that. Like I understand all that because I'm married 21 years now. So like, it's it's a work in motion. You have 2 people that are trying to you're both growing and changing too. So like it's not like all it's a perfect every day. It's just it's something you have to adjust to, but you have to respect it. You have to respect it and want it. If you don't want it, that's where it gets a little weird. Are you married?
I'm married. Yep.
How long?
Damn, don't put me on the spot like that.
All right. Just say a long time.
Damn. We've been together for a while.
Mm-hmm.
We've been married 3 years now.
Are you still in your honeymoon phase, bro? It's beautiful. Congratulations. Congratulations. I'll see you in year 10 or 11. It's still good. It's just different. All right. So talk to me about when did you start propelling in the real estate business? Like, how'd that start going?
Like I said, I started to stop feeling sorry for myself of things I didn't have, like not growing up with money, not having the same opportunities as everybody else, not playing the victim.
And that was a conscious thing?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Because, again, when I got into the business, and even now, I don't really see anybody that looks like me, and I would cover up my tattoos, cover up my neck tattoos. And
when did you get them? Like 12?
Nah.
Like 17, 18?
I stopped getting tattoos when I was, 26?
When did you start?
When 18.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been a journey. But I stopped getting tattoos when I was 26. It's frowned upon in the business. You don't see anybody on HGTV with a bunch of tattoos, showing houses, working with high-end clientele.
I don't want to disrespect you, but I will say yes, you do. But usually they frame it in a different way. Like the one guy that jumped,
who look like us.
Not Spanish people. No, not Spanish people.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right,
no. But you'll see, right, they'll frame it a different way to make it look not as aggressive or not as, like whatever.
But there's this stigma, and when it's people who look like us, black, brown community, it's a different, it is.
Absolutely.
It's a different stigma.
Absolutely.
Than somebody,
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I'm talking about. Like, there was nobody who
and
looked like me.
and you're in Long Island.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So unless you're in Brentwood and certain pockets, if you're trying to go to Huntington and you're trying to go like Dix Hills to sell properties, you're going to have a little bit of resistance, right? Do you feel that?
Look, for me, what helped me propel was realizing that you can't take away anything that I know. As long as I become educated and I know the business in and out, how are you going to tell me no? If you realize and recognize that I'm a hustler, I'm resilient, I'm going to make it happen by any means necessary, and I know what I'm talking about, how can you tell me no? Right. I've been to so many appointments where people second guess me, and I walk out with those papers because they realize that I bring value to the table.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of what I look like now, before I didn't believe in myself like I do now.
Mm-hmm.
Before, I'm going to listing appointments, 2 million plus, signing papers, walking in and out. Somebody has something to say about my tattoos. Oh, my wife kissed me. Oh, I didn't shower today. Oh, I didn't even know that was there.
Right.
I just played off.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, it was reflected with confidence.
100%.
Yeah.
And people respect confidence.
Yeah.
My first few listings I ever got was confidence. I didn't have no resume, no houses sold, nothing.
Right.
But I was so confident in my skin, confident in myself that like, let's make it happen.
Well, that being confident also, you're saying that you're a professional. So, obviously you put in the work, you're studying your shit, you're knowing what's going on. Some guys just feel like they get their license put on a blazer and I should be rich. I'm like, nah, it's a little, I was talking to you about that before. I was like, no, it's a little more to it, guys. It's like saying I should be Diesel, but you don't work out. Or I did 5 push-ups. I'm like, yeah, you got to do like 10,000 push-ups, right? To get anywhere near anything. So don't detract that. Like that, I mean, I feel that there's a benefit and a detraction in being a minority. At a certain point, I think right now almost a little bit more of an advantage because people are being more sensitive to it, but also to the point where you don't want it to be so sensitive that unqualified people are getting the jobs that qualified people should be getting. Do you understand? Like that shouldn't be the only thing. It should be like, yo, what's the accreditations? All right, what we got? What, let's see the resumes. Everything else. Take the names out, take everything else out. Who's the most qualified? Oh shit, he's black. Great. Oh shit, he's white. Great. Oh shit, he's Spanish. It should be that way. But unfortunately in the world we live in, it's not. And what's the word I was using? Nepotism is a thing, and people feel like they're entitled to get into stuff like that. And I'm glad that somebody like you is disrupting that because we need that. We need We need everybody, in every channel disrupting because, you could inspire the next generation of kids that be like, oh, I could do that. Or I don't have to hustle on the street. Or I don't like. You give them an option. I'm not saying we're saving the world. I'm saying that you're giving people an option. That's the whole reason for my documentation, to let people know that look like me, sound like me, come from where I come from, started where I started from, that, there's options. You don't have to be when I was growing up, doctor and lawyer. Yo, doctor, that was the two professions. Or, work for the city. You work for sanitation, you're a cop, you're a fire, what, pension. And yeah, it made sense to the people that were coming from, like, Puerto Rico, not speaking English. Like, that was, like, so safe, right? They have a check, they're guaranteed. And it was cool, and I understand it, and I didn't diminish them. But I was like, when I went to school, I went to college, I kind of started seeing the world on a bigger plane. I was like, wait a minute, there's more to this. There's like a lot more than the block, right? And when I was in high school, I was a kid on the block with my friends, and then I went to college, and then all of a sudden you're meeting people from California. You're meeting different people. You're like, your father's the CEO of what? Like, and then like seeing actors in your college. Like, that's when I went to NYU. I got exposed so much, and I was like, wait a minute. Yo, everybody's normal. Everybody's like regular. Like, we're right here, right? And everybody has to be at the same place, same time. And I'm like, it just opened my mind up because, like, possibility, usually you are what you see, right? And if you don't see it, you can't believe it. Like they say, if you can't see it, you can't conceive it. You won't believe it, you can't achieve it. Napoleon Hill, shout out. But to me, that was a big thing, to see and meet people of certain status that treated me like a regular person. Right? There was no friction, and they were like, and I find the richer the person I met, the more positive and the more nurturing the conversation was. They'd be like, yeah, what are you doing? Oh, you in college? Oh, it's great. You should do this. You should, like, think about that. Think about it. Like, opening the doors, like the possibilities to me, and that's how I learned, right? So I was like, yeah, I could do that. And then I go learn about it, hustle, and do my thing. And that's how kind of I started climbing, because I started learning they're possible. Like, nobody said, here, man, here's the job. Go get it. They were like, yo, you could do that. And then I would go and hustle, and they'll see me outperform, like, their guy, and they'll be like, oh, shit, this kid is doing so much with the little shit I get. Meanwhile, I'm nurturing this guy, and every day he's up my ass, and he's not doing shit. This kid is, and so they would naturally gravitate and be like, yo, I want to invest a little more time. Of course, going back to your statement before, like, everything I was doing was commission-based, so they were making money with me, and that's okay. To me, I felt like it was almost like college. You paying to learn. Because once I learned the game, I'm doing my own thing, and that's what happened. But in the beginning, I was okay with it. I was like, all right, you're my manager, whatever. Like, you're getting an override. Okay, I need to learn this. I need to learn that, and I would keep going. Eventually, eventually with you, I mean, you're right now, and I'm not trying to create no shit, but you're at Premier, whatever, but eventually you have your own brokerage. Eventually you get your shit that you'll know the way it all works. You'll be doing your own thing. I believe that's just the natural evolution. Do you see that for yourself in the future?
I believe there's no limitations, so I'm not going to say no to anything. I'm always open to growing. I think you got to get uncomfortable, and that's the only way to grow.
No strength without struggle. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's why I always, I don't understand why people always try to rush the process, right? They always try to get from A to Z so quickly and not soak in the process, because that's where your character's built. Like, I'm thankful that I went through everything that I went through in my life. Like, I wouldn't say I regret anything in my career, because it really taught me everything that I know right now.
Well, you can say, and I hear what you're saying. I'll say during the process, sometimes it's hard.
It's always hard.
Right. But when you get back and you're able to look down the mountain a little bit, I use that metaphor a lot. You're like, oh shit, all right, that's why that happened to me. Or I have had conversations early in my professional career where I fucking destroyed myself. Like, I'm talking to people that are way beyond me, and I'm thinking I'm saying something funny, and it's like something ridiculous. But I remember those lessons, right? So now I'm like, I understand why that didn't work out. Like, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for a client like that. Like, you know, I've had those conversations where I'm like outclassed and I'm like, oh my God. And now, you know, it's very rare that could happen to me. But I remember those conversations when I first started. I was like, oh, why didn't you do this? And they're like, kind of like, dumbass, like, this is what. And I'm like, damn, and he wasn't my client. He didn't become my client. But me talking to you 20 years later, I understand why. Me at that time, like, damn, that was like $2 million deal. Like, you know, I was like fresh into the business. So I thought, you know, this could change my life. So yeah, every lump, every cut, every bruise, every scrape, it makes us who you are. The adversity is who builds you into the stronger version, better version of you. I totally believe in that. I agree with you on that one, man. And like I said, I see where you're going because I've been watching. So I see, like, I can see you doing your own thing. And I'm rooting for you. I'm applauding. I applaud
appreciate
you.
that.
Absolutely, man. There are no limits, man. There are no limits, like you said. All right, so you had your own podcast for a little while. You still have it.
Yeah, we're still growing.
So you had it with a co-host before, and no longer the case.
No.
What's happened there?
So I never discussed this, not even on my platform yet.
All right, everybody, tune in now.
This is exclusive.
Yeah, we're gonna
look,
that.
Sometimes you outgrow people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes life gets in the way. You know, you start to have other visions and other things you want to do in life, and there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I wish him nothing but the best, and you know, like I'm a visionary. Like I am so focused on, I know where I could take this. I know where this is gonna go.
Right. You see the big picture.
100%. I'm all gas, no brakes.
Right.
And sometimes if somebody's not on the same vision with you, they're not aligned with your vision, then it just won't work.
It creates friction. Right.
It creates friction. Mm-hmm. But like I said, what we've built, and I say we because I believe it's a movement, right? We get so much support. It's a brand. Like, it's a brand. And I started realizing it's a brand when certain people just started following the Real Estate and Chill and not following me.
Right.
And I was like, damn, this is his own entity now.
Right, it's its own thing. Yeah.
Like, I'm a separate personality from who I am in my business.
Correct.
Right? And that's when I started to realize, like, this is bigger than us. You know, we started doing events, sold out events, 300 plus people.
Nice.
Events selling out in 2.5 weeks. Like, we just started doing so much that we just created a movement. And just seeing it grow from the ground up has been a beautiful thing. It's because, like you said, we disrupted the game.
Yeah.
There was nothing like this out there that was educating real estate wise, and this is not to offend anybody, but I knew that we had to be different. We had to get people's attention. We started bringing out confetti guns, money guns. You know, we started popping bottles on the episodes. We just started throwing money everywhere. Just like, what are these guys gonna do next?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just so random. And
well, it gets attention.
100%.
Right? And once you get the attention, what you do with it is on you.
Yeah, attention is currency nowadays.
Yeah.
So we understood that people have short attention spans. They have that TikTok brain. So it's like, you got to get their attention quick. And if you don't have their attention, they're tuned out.
Right.
So we started something different, and it's just been growing up and up and up since then.
So what is it exactly now? Like, is it a learning thing, or is it just a networking thing?
I wouldn't call it a podcast anymore. It was Real Estate and Chill Podcast, but we dropped the podcast name and just branded it as Real Estate and Chill.
Right.
Because it's more than just a podcast now. You know, it's events, it's masterminds, it's episodes, interviews. It's basically all in one. You know,
right. So like a vertical media company,
pretty much.
Concept.
Pretty much.
That's dope.
And when we sat down with MG, shout out to MG, Rents and Gems on Your Leisure, he basically gave us some free game, and I started to realize, like, all right, I understand the mindset that he's in. I see all the big things that he's doing, traveling, getting paid to speak, and with all these big names. And once he gave me that free game, I was like, all right, I got to take it to this level if I want to do
it. If I want to transfer into something
exactly,
like that.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's why we dropped the podcast name. We just took a different approach and started doing things very differently.
Dope. And you have an event soon?
We have an event that we're working on. I'm not going to say anything yet, but you'll see it out there.
All right. But all your events are Long Island, or you bring them to the city, or you bring them to...
We try to do it like Nassau-ish, you know, somewhere where people from Queens, Brooklyn, Bronx can come. It's not too far for everybody. So we try to, centralize it.
Right. All right. And talking about events, you have an event coming up that you're speaking at?
October 16th.
Let's talk about
the New York Expo.
Let's talk about it. What are we talking about? What are we talking about at the Expo? What are you bringing of value to? Give them a preview right now. I'm pointing at the camera.
You know what's crazy? How that all came about?
Like, what?
I was never on social media. I was
Right.
never on social media. I got on social media because of Real Estate and Chill.
Okay.
Like when I said, you know what, we're gonna do this. I have this idea. I know it's gonna work. Let's launch it. March 7th, I believe, 2021 is when I got on social media.
Okay.
From 2016 to 2021, I wasn't on social media. I was a complete ghost to everybody. And it's funny because if you don't have social media, it's like anything that you accomplished before social media did not happen.
Doesn't count.
Nobody saw it.
It doesn't
Nobody
count.
saw it. You don't get, you don't get the recognition for it.
Yeah.
So I was like, I know I'm a machine in the business. Now I got to put it out there. And when I started doing all the social media content, I started getting a lot of views, a lot of followers. People started to gravitate towards me because of my story. Like I'm big on telling my story, coming from nothing, going through adversity, coming out on top, just staying extremely focused on what I had to do to survive. And again, everything that I did in my career up until now, it was never to be recognized.
Right.
I just needed to survive.
Right.
I needed to get out of the position that I was in. I needed to get out living in my mama's basement. I needed to get out from the hood. I needed to get out from the people that were around me. And the reason why I have all these tattoos is because I became a product of my environment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And as much as I thought I was a leader, I was a follower because I wanted to look like I wanted to look like everybody else. If I wasn't in real estate right now, I'd have my face tatted, my whole entire neck tatted. Like I'd be a completely different person. But thank God I found real estate. It changed my life, changed my outlook. I couldn't speak a certain way to certain people. I had to be professional. I look at Jay-Z from Rockefeller to Rock Nation. Like, all right, he had to transition and become this mega entrepreneur to be where he's at. And I realized that, you know what I mean? So again, I was never on social media. I got a DM from them saying, hey, would you like to come to our event? This was in 2023 at the City Field where they had over 12,000 people.
Right.
They DM me, they slid in my DMs. They said, all right, we got complimentary tickets for you and your entire team. Send me 10 tickets.
Okay.
I said, okay, cool. I went, networked with a lot of people, met some new faces there, met them, the founders. Shout out to George and Anthony. So Ryan Serhan speaks. Seen some of the biggest names speak, and I was just a spectator in a seat sitting there.
Right. Just
and
soaking it all in.
Soaking it all in. And I'm like, man, I could do this.
Right.
I'll be there one day.
Yeah.
And then from that moment, when I'm about to leave, I run into both of them. It's son and a father duo that run it. Anthony is the one who's a founder. He put it all together. His son helps him. As I'm about to leave, they both come up to me and say, we appreciate you coming in. We'd love to have you a part of the panel next year. And they just gave me that opportunity. Yeah. And he's like, my son loves your content, loves everything that you're putting out there. He watches the episodes.
Awesome.
So from there, it led to me being on as a speaker for 2024.
Right. You
know what I mean? And just to have the opportunity to speak in front of hundreds and thousands of people is big.
Yeah. I say something all the time. Relevant content creation creates consideration, right? So if you break that down, basically that's what happened there. The kid was watching you. He's like, Dad, no, he's good. No, Dad, he brings value. Dad, he's like, and it's not even the guy. It's the guy's son. But he saw you, right? And it's because you're creating good shit, and it's resonating with people, and it's giving value, whatever the value is. Whatever. Because some people tell me, yo, man, I have a couple of friends that are jokesters. They be like, yo, oh, how you feeling? I'm like, oh, I'm a little tired today. They be like, yo, why don't you watch some of your own content? I'm like, yo, fuck you. Yeah, they like watch a couple of your own videos, but. They fuck with me, but they look forward. Like they text me like, yo, this one hit me. This one, or you'll get random people that you haven't spoken to in years hit you. Yo, I fuck with this. Or like I needed this. And then you don't understand the kind of effect you're having because you're doing your life. You're just doing, right? And then you get the feedback and you're like, oh shit, okay. Oh wow, this works, right? And I'm just using that example of you. You were doing your own thing. You believed in something and you were doing it, but you didn't know how it was gonna, you don't know how it's gonna work. You don't know yet. You're putting it out there. And this is just a great example of that, of how you're getting consideration now because of the content that you're creating that's fucking relevant. It's real, not just somebody getting smashed in the face with a pie. Or, some stupid shit. Like people tell me all the time, oh, he has mad followers. I'm like, what does he do? He's like, oh, he makes jokes all the time. I was like, I'm not a comedian. They're like, but if you did more jokes, I'm like, but that's not me. That's not what I'm trying to do. Like, they're getting all these followers for what? To be a clown? I was like, I'm not a clown. You know what I mean? Like, I would join the circus. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is kudos to you, man, because that was a great example of how just creating relevant content creates fucking opportunity. Most people don't see that.
I agree. And like I said, that's why I'm so big on telling my story and just showing the journey and showing my failure, how many times I failed and I didn't give up and I kept going. Because I get so many DMs, text messages from people like, man, you inspire me, you motivate me. You know, we come from similar backgrounds. I see your personality, where you come from, and it just motivates me to get to where you are. And to be that for somebody, to me, is the biggest compliment, because I didn't have anybody to look up to when I was coming up. You know what I mean? There was nobody who looked like me.
Absolutely.
There was nobody
I talk
who
about
was
that
doing
all the time.
what
bro.
I was doing right now. Like, there's nobody that I can see and like, all right, you know, I'm just very vocal. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care. You know,
Yeah.
there's nothing for me to hide. I don't have anything to prove to anybody but myself.
Yeah.
You know, and again, how successful will Rocky Balboa's story be if he never shared his journey, if he never shared his story, if it was just like, all right, just the boxer that fought a couple of times.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you
He
love
got
the
beat up a
Rocky-
little bit.
Exactly. But I say, look, it doesn't matter how many times I get punched in the face, I get up and I keep moving.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep going. I'm going to keep fighting. Nothing's going to hold me back. And I'm going to get to where I want to be.
But some people don't have that engine. That's just the truth. That's just the truth. Some people don't have that engine. Some people are so caught up in their own trauma, they're not able to see past it.
Man, look, if I told you everything I've been through in my life, trauma, I could write a movie.
No, listen, I believe you. I believe you.
There's certain people like us who don't have that victim mindset, who say, you know what, we're gonna make it happen by any means necessary.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons I move the way I move is that I didn't have anybody to call. Like, you know, like you get in trouble. Like, God forbid, I got arrested when I was a kid. I couldn't call my mom. She didn't speak no English. She was like, yo, que se joda, right? Leave him there. My pops, nobody there. So I was like, yo, anything I have to do, it got to be all in. I got to be all in. I got to dominate, because if it doesn't work out, there is no plan B, right? And that's kind of how I went. I used education for me as leverage to learn how the world works, because I had no access. Like, you know, my mom was a meat wrapper, very blue collar jobs, and no shit. I'm not shitting on it. I'm just saying that she couldn't teach me much, right? Like, I have 3 boys now, and I'm teaching about credit. I teach them about this. And when they want to listen to me, because most of the times they go on YouTube. But at least they have somebody. Like, I tell them, listen, man, come to me for counsel. You don't have to do what I say. But if you're thinking about doing it, I probably did it, and I probably fucked it up. So let me tell you how I fucked it up, and maybe you can fix it. Maybe you won't have to fuck it up as bad. And that's how I kind of approach them, because if you come at them like, yo, I know how to do this, or your stupid idea. No, listen, every idea is stupid until it works. Then all of a sudden you're brilliant, right? So I was like, I'm talking to you about my fatherhood techniques right now, because you have young ones. My youngest is 20, so I gotta talk to them a certain way. You can't just bully them. Like, when they're young, you say, stop that. That's it. Like, there has to be a conversation, because they're young adults, right? They're going back to it. They're products of their environment. They're products of what they see, hear, talk to, right? What they see online, because these people are plugged in all day. And you gotta be, as a father, I feel confident enough where they don't have to like me. I know it sounds funny when I say that, but I tell them all the time, you don't gotta like me. I love, the dad in me loves that we can talk, but there's a time when I turn on, it's time to get serious. Yo, this is not happening. This is why. And if you don't like it, then we gotta have a conversation. We stuck, because it's not happening. And, a lot of guys, like, I feel like sometimes they want to be a friend so bad. I'm like, yo, I want to be your friend too, absolutely, when there's time for that. But when it's time to be serious, and to me, that's a lesson to the young men that I'm raising, that as a man, sometimes you got to be serious. There's time, like, look, there's always hangout time. But there's, don't be on FOMO shit where, you want to be at every party. Like, we all go through that phase when we're young. I was like, but you got to be a part where, all right, this is my life. I only get one. Where do I want to be? What do I have to do? Right? Like, I want to look a certain way, Dad. I was like, well, you got to get to the gym. Not only did I build a gym in the house, you can go to you do it, like, it's not rocket science, but it does take work and dedication, right? So that becomes the message too, as a father raising young men, because a lot of this generation is kind of like a little softer. Like, everybody's like, oh, don't be a harsh parent, and I'm like, I'm not a harsh parent, but I'm a real dad. Like, yo, no, it's not happening. What are you talking about? Yeah, I want to do this. No, you can't. Next conversation. So I say that to say that when people hear about successful stories, they see somebody, right? They see somebody with some sort of success. I think you touched on it before. Like, they'll be like, oh, I just want to get to that. I'm like, my man, you can't get there until you go through this fire. Oh, that's too hard. Well, then you don't really want to get to that, right? And that becomes the conversation. Like, you don't really want to get to that. Because if they told me, shovel shit every day and you'd be a billionaire, I'll shovel. If there was no question, I'm shoveling. Oh, but shit, I don't care what it smells like, bro. If it's gonna get me to my goal, I'm going, right? And that's the mindset. That's the mindset that I think some people have to understand. You have to be willing to go through the wall, go through whatever it is to get to your goal, right? And sometimes it's not easy, and it shouldn't be easy, because if it's easy, look, you've made fast money. I made, like, when you make it too fast, you just blow it. Why it came in, you think it's coming like that all the time, then you go through your little drought. You're like, oh, wait a minute. I sure could have used that $100,000 right now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you get it. Like, you could be up $1 million, you could be down 3,000. Like, it happens in the life of an entrepreneur. If you're self-funding everything, self-financing yourself, that you got to be a budgeter. You got to be a this. Of course, you have to be aggressive, but you also have to have like some sort of safety measures, because at the end of the day, there's nobody to call. There's no CFO. Hey, man, we need to get another line of credit for $200 million. Nah, that shit ain't happening, man. If I miscalculate, I could be in some trouble, right? But that becomes part of being a businessman. And but that I'm using those terms because everybody wants to run to the end and just have the nice car and have the nice clothes, right? And whatever it is, whatever their motivation is. But understand there's a little bit of responsibility with it.
Yeah, you can't instant microwave success, man.
Yeah, or Amazon Prime it. That's what I call it.
You can't. You know, but I think social media plays a big part in that, because you see everybody's highlight reel, everybody's winning, everybody's successful, everybody's rich, everybody's driving nice cars, taking nice vacations, and then you start to compare yourself, and you gotta understand, like, that's the thief of joy, comparison. You can't compare yourself to other people. Like, this is your journey. You're gonna go through things that maybe somebody else didn't go through, but this is what's gonna build you up and build your character to get you to where you need to be. You can't rush it. You can't rush the process.
Yeah, and to add to that, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't think I'm that interesting. I think everybody's interesting. Everybody is fucking, if you really, all right, you do real estate, I do real estate, I do loans, you have tattoos, I work out, you box. But as you get deeper into who you are, that's what people resonate with, right? The kid, he had a kid young. He got married. He has his own house. He takes his physical fitness, like, serious. He takes his business very serious. He wants you to know, listen, I did all this. You can too, right? That becomes the thing too, because when I came up, it wasn't like that. When I came up, and it's still, I think I hear about that a lot still. There's a lot of gatekeepers. They're like, nah, don't tell them that. I'm like, what? Why won't you tell me that? Oh, because there's not enough. I'm like, yo, there's enough for everybody. Like, there's like 8 billion people on the planet. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when I came up, they weren't looking for us to be loan officers. They weren't looking for us to be real estate. It was, I think the highest majority of mortgage banks in America were based in Long Island. I don't know if you know that, in 04 or 05, right? That was the highlight, the highest concentration. How many Latinos, when I got to a bank, when I was recruited into the business, I got to the bank, there was like 250 loan officers. I was the second Latino. The first one, his name is Carlos. I can't remember his last name, but Carlos was like an Ecuadorian dude with really bad English, and Carlos Duarte, I remember his name now. And the white guys were making fun of this guy. And I came in with my NYU education, and I spoke English and Spanish, so I fucked it up. They were like, wait a minute, this guy speaks Spanish. This guy's like, and so I was treated different than he was, but he was like a token dude. And as I ascend, as I keep doing my thing, I'm a lender now. Like, I tell guys, loan officers, yo, send me your deal, I'll tell you how to fix it. I'll give it back to you. Go ahead, do your thing. Do it through your own, I don't care. I think that's rare. People they're like, nah. They're like, nah. I'm like, yeah. Nah. I'm like, yeah. I was like, my numbers are my numbers. They're going to be my numbers whether I meet you or not. I'm going to still go, because all the stuff that you don't see on camera is the work. Is when you're meeting clients, when you're doing a listing presentation, when I'm doing numbers for a client, when I'm going to see, certain clients that, they want to be anonymous. They don't want people knowing their business. They're like, like, I want to buy this house in the Hamptons through this LLC. Like just to create, like, they want to create separation. They don't want people knowing their business. And you'll never hear any of my clients' names on the show, but they find me because I usually have done something for one of their people. I heard about you, or you get shit done. I'm like, all right, I want to have dinner. I'm like, about what? And they're like, we'll talk about dinner. And so it becomes that, man. It becomes like, yo, man, like, yo, there's enough for everybody, right? And we all present our message differently, and your message is gonna find your tribe at the end of the day. And the fact that you're on social media, the fact that you're gonna be speaking at that event that I'm gonna go to because you gave me tickets, thank you. And I want, because I want to rep, I want to support, because I want more people like me up there. I want more people like me doing shit. And the only way, and this is a message for everybody, for us, me and you being in the same room together, yo, we should be collaborating. We don't have to tear each other down. There is not just a finite amount of Spanish people or a finite amount of black people. Bro, there's enough business for everybody. And if you really look at it that way, you could be so much more useful. Sometimes, like if I have a client and let's say, I'm trying to think of a very far place that like in the Hamptons, I have a real estate broker shop. You're in Long Island. I would call you, hey man, let's co-broker this. Like, I can't be everywhere, bro. Like, and that becomes the thing because everybody's so chasing that check so bad that they lose sight of the real currency, which is time, right? You're gonna spend 5 hours driving, you're gonna spend this, you're gonna spend that, and after you chop up the commission, what'd you really make? And how miserable were you? Because let me hit you with this, guys, and you can tell me if I'm wrong. The higher the net worth, the bigger the transaction, sometimes the more the headache. The clients, they know they're high net worth and they expect a lot more. And sometimes they feel entitled. Sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes they're like, they'll make you earn every dollar and they'll let you know what they know what you're earning. And they're like, well, part of this $200,000 you're getting, I need you to be here. I'm like, but yo, it's Saturday at 9 a.m. I don't trust the inspector. He looks kind of scary. All right, I'm on my way. You know, that's a real story. But I give little color because people think, again, going back to the highlight film, yo, it's just, checks, cash, money, guns, and wires hitting, and then everything's good. Sometimes there's work involved, and there's people, and when you're dealing with people, you're dealing with people in high emotional, high states, where like they're all kind of like, they're not regular, they're all kind of agitated for some reason or another, and you got to kind of like learn how to speak to them in their language, and you have to learn their cues, and you're doing all this quickly because some clients you have a lot of FaceTime with. Some clients you don't. Some clients you meet and you have 2 or 3 interactions with them and you got to kind of figure it out really fast or you could lose them, right? So have you ever had a situation with a client where you're just not understanding each other?
Of course. I think we all do in the industry, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the beautiful thing of having a team is that, like, if I know off the bat that I'm not going to be the one for you personality-wise, that we're going to mesh, hey, I throw it to the team. That's why we keep the money in the circle. We all eat, and we still get the business done. But I'm the same way. I'm like, time is one of the biggest things in life. You know what I mean? You can get money back. I blew through bags. I've gotten the money back. Yeah. Time you can't get back. Yep. You know what I mean? That's the biggest asset, that you can have on your side. So I appreciate time. Time for me is like the biggest thing.
It's money, man. And that's why I told you I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you taking the trip. And like I said, I owe you. If you need me out there, I'm there. If you need me at this thing, I'm there just because I feel like I owe. And I pay my bills. That's why. Yeah. Same here. That's a big thing. That's a big thing because a lot of people, like, they'll take. And then, like, I'm like, yo, you have to give more than you. My metric of success, whenever I have a relationship with a business partner or anything, if I gave more than I took, we're good. And I'm fine with that. Like, some people are like, oh, he got you for, bro, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm good. I know my value. It's not determined by one transaction. It's determined by I've been doing this for 20 years. And I'm still growing. I still get calls all the time about people want to merge or people want to buy. And I'm like, that's great. I was like, unless you talk $10 million, like, unless we talk some real numbers, like, for me to give up everything and just come work, I've had bigger banks call me, hey, man, I want to merge with you. I'm like, all right, so what's you buying? What do you mean buying? And I was like, what are you going to give me for me to disrupt what I'm doing because it's working and try to incorporate there. Unless there's some equity share and some serious money, and it's not disrespectful. It's just I know my value, right? And it comes out to when you're negotiating. Like now with this whole NAR settlement, all the agents are bugging out. Yo, man, how are we gonna charge? I was like, well, I'll give you an example. This is before the settlement. I had a guy. I'm not gonna say his name. Actually, I can say his name. Pablo Escobar. That was his name, right? It's really his name. It's really his name.
Oh, like a real dude?
That's a real dude. It's a real dude. It's a real dude. So Pablo Escobar, he broke his back. He got a settlement for like $500,000. Pablo Escobar is an undocumented person, or I think he has papers now, so I can talk about it anymore. So Pablo came to me, referred to his attorney, and he was like, hey, man, I got this guy. He's a little high maintenance, doesn't speak English, but he needs somebody to represent him. I said, all right. So I met with the client. He was like, yeah, I want to buy something for like $300,000. Like real. He had his shit laid out. So I was like, okay. So I said, look, man, this is the way it's going to go. You're going to pay me a $2,000 retainer because he didn't have a car. So I was picking him up and driving him everywhere. I was like, you're going to pay me 2%. And if the seller's paying me, that's great too. But this is what you're paying me. He was cool with it. Signed everything. So I drive him to a couple places, whatever. It didn't work out. Then he calls me. Oh, he calls me on a Sunday. He's like, "Hey, Louis, I found the house." I was like, "Wow, okay, which one?" He sends me the link because everybody's really good on internet for some reason. He sends me the link. I met the owner. I was like, okay, red flag. I went to the owner. I went to see it, and we're negotiating. I told him, you're going to negotiate the price. I said, all right, you got so send me the owner's information. So he sends me the owner's information, but the owner was the real estate agent who bought the Zillow lead, right? So he's thinking, like, again, going back to education. The client doesn't know any of this, and I'm like, okay. So he bought the Zillow lead. The guy, I forgot his name, whatever. He actually that agent wrote me a good review on Google. I'll explain why. So I make the offer. I know the listing agent. Boom, boom, boom. We make the offer. It's a cash deal. Da, da, da. She hits me, but hey, man, listen. I know you, and I know the guy who showed him the property. She was like, I just don't feel right. I was like, no, I understand. I'm going to call him next. So is the property locked up? She goes, yes. I said, all right. So I call the agent. I said, what's up, man? I introduced myself. I said, listen, I understand you showed my client this property. I was like, did you sign anything with him? He was like, no. He's like, oh, man. Like, he's already kind of defeated. I was like, look, check it out. This is the deal. I'll handle it. I'm going to cut you in for a point. You're getting a point just for showing that, for opening that, going that day. And I was like, we're cool. I'm cool with that. Are you cool with that? He goes, yo, fuck. Yeah, absolutely. He's like, I'm getting paid for not doing it. So I knew the strategy. I knew the way the client was. And I had enough meat on the bone that everybody could eat, and I wouldn't be stressed out. Because had I not had anything signed with him, I would have been asked out, right? So going back to now, the NAR settlement, to me, this is just business as usual. Whereas a lot of people were on the, no, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. And then, because, for some reason, they think the money comes from the seller all the time, which it does. But if you don't have a real distinct conversation with your client, because I believe certain agents weren't even telling people they're getting paid. They weren't telling, the client, I'm getting 2.5 or whatever, or I knew certain clients, like Brooklyn and Queens was a big deal where they were only paying 1 to the agents, right? And then the agents were charging 2 prior to the NAR settlement. This to me was all business as usual, but in Westchester especially, that's not the case, because they're more well-to-do, more affluent, and they're more sophisticated, and they're like, oh, why should I pay? Da, da, da. So in Long Island, now to bring this conversation to you, in Long Island, what are you seeing? Are you seeing any type of resistance with that with buyers, or how you dealing with it?
Look, the media is always going to push, oh, you don't have to pay buyer agents now. Real estate is more affordable. You don't have to pay commissions, et cetera, et cetera. It's all about educating and providing value. Education is key, because the news always puts out things I always say, don't believe everything you see and half of what you hear,
Right.
And you get those messages all the time. Oh, we don't have to pay you, right? Would you work for free?
Yeah.
Would you work for free?
If this was my hobby, you wouldn't have to.
Yeah. But this is how I, put food on the table. But no, look, I see agents now making a lot more money. I think what the lawsuit and everything did the opposite. I'm seeing agents make a lot more money now.
Okay.
I'm seeing, healthy commissions being negotiated into the deal, and it's getting accepted. It's it's working out.
I had a deal yesterday. The agents were like, if the house appraises, this is gonna be our sale price, and this is negotiating our 6% fee. Like they broke it down. I was like, your client's fine with it? He was like, yeah. I was like, fine, I'm fine. I was the banker. I'm the banker on the deal. I was like, fine. So we'll put a 6% concession in there. If it works, then we're good. If not, then this is plan B. And because they have to come to me as the banker to kind of know if the money is enough, right? If this is what we have, we'll just cover everything. And then I got to do the math for them. Like, yes, it will work this way, or it will work that way. The client has a certain amount of money, or no, we need a concession. And if the concession doesn't come, we got to redo this, because, they're working with a finite amount of money. So I think it's just making people more educated, at the end of the day.
If you're not educated in this market, if you don't know your value, you're gonna quit. Right?
Well, a lot of people have quit already.
A lot of agents quit in 2023.
Right.
They realized it wasn't easy. Now it developed. You have to have skills in order to perform and in order to make money in this business. And look, business is not for everybody.
Yeah.
Not everybody's meant to succeed in business.
Not everybody's built for it.
No.
Right? Because sometimes it's like I said, you up, you down, you gotta stay, no matter what, you gotta stay cool. You gotta stay cool. So let me ask you this question. How's that thing with Barbara Corcoran going?
Barbara. So with Barbara, it's been persistent. It's about to be a year in January.
Okay.
But like I said, I don't mind.
Tell me how it started.
How it started was just like an idea, just like everything else that I get, you know? It's like, yo, who should I go after that's a big name that nobody would expect me to sit down with one-on-one and podcast with?
Right.
And there were so many names that came to my mind, and I was like, you know what about Barbara?
Right.
You know, I love her story. She came from nothing.
Yeah.
You know, you look at her, you don't think that.
Right.
Right.
Right. Right. You think she's
had it all.
Yeah.
She's dyslexic. She could barely read.
Right.
She was made fun of in school. You know, I love this quote from her where she said, "Never underestimate the power of an insult." And I've been insulted in my life. I've been doubted.
I've insulted a lot.
I've been doubted in my life, and she still came out on top.
Really, man.
You know, her ex said, "Oh, you'll never succeed without me," and that's the battery that she needed in her back to succeed. And then, boom, what happened later on? She sold the business for $66 million and cashed out.
Yep. And she still has her name.
And her legacy lives on.
Right.
And she's now on the biggest platforms: ABC, Shark Tank, getting paid to speak.
She's been there for a minute.
She's been there for a while. She's shooting on season 16.
Damn.
So my whole thing with that is I like to break barriers. I like to do things that people don't expect me that I can do. I like to challenge myself, and it's gonna happen. I don't mind the process because it's gonna happen. The victory's gonna be that sweeter, you know, when it comes to fruition.
Yeah. So you tagging her? I'll tag her.
Everything.
I'll tag her on everything we do.
Everything. She's seen it.
She's watching the stories?
She knows I exist now. You know, I seen the DM message and she opened it up, so she knows who I am. She knows I exist.
Okay,
it's just a matter of time. There's more content coming out.
Okay,
you know, again, relentless.
She's
resilient.
in the sights. She's in the sights.
She's in the sights.
Yeah, I like that.
She's in the scope.
Yeah, I like that, man. I like that. So Barbara, if you're listening, if you watch Real Omar Real Estate and Chill, you gotta hit us up. We gotta hit him up. You know, I'll be there too if you need me to.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah. So brother, in summary, if people need to hit you, real estate, podcasting, or whatever media stuff, where can they find you? And please speak to the camera.
Yeah, looking to buy a house, looking to just know more about the business, looking to grow. Follow the podcast at Real Estate and Chill. You can contact me anywhere on social media. Kevin Sold My Home on Instagram. 631-618-7413 is my cell. I'm always open to helping people and just educating, providing value.
Kevin came down to see me. I owe him one. It was a great energy. Thanks for bringing energy, because sometimes the guys don't have the energy, but you have the energy. I like that, and I appreciate the shirt. Hold on, Real Estate Hustle, because that's what we do. You guys all know where to find me. I Somewhere everywhere, and we out.